Thank you for joining us virtually for Science Odyssey 2021 from the UBCO Okanagan campus. I'm Professor Jen. Joining me today is Maxine and Eli. We are the iSTAND team, and this is Do You See What I See? Eli, Maxine, what do you notice?
I see a woman sitting down here with a great big hat on her head that looks like a beehive.
I see someone playing guitar.
How can two people look at the same image but see two different things?
So we can answer this question with science, more specifically, neuroscience.
What is neuroscience?
Neuroscience is the study of the nervous system, and the nervous system is composed of the brain, the spinal cord, which is housed in the bones in the back of your body, and all of the nerves in your body, some of them shown here, coming out of the spinal cord. The nervous system is really important because it controls what we do, how we move, how we think, and even in how we interpret what we see.
The cells in the nervous system are called neurons. Neurons are string-like cells, and some can be really, really long, even as long as your entire leg. These cells communicate with one another by sending chemical messages across the gaps in between neurons. When you have a bunch of neurons connected together like this, they form complex networks called neuronal networks. These networks are what help us think, feel, see, and move.
How do eyes work?
Eyes are the sensory receptors of the visual system. When light bounces off objects in the room and towards your face, a little bit goes through the pupil, which is that dark hole in the middle of your eye. As it passes through the pupil, the light is focused by the lens in your eye, and then the light goes to the little cells in the back of the eye on what's called the retina. The cells on the retina are called rods and cones. These cells are really special because they can change the light that they receive into a signal. When we're thinking about the retina, it helps to think of it like a TV screen. If you look really closely at a TV or computer screen, you can see a bunch of little points or little squares. Each square on that screen is shooting out a little bit of light, and when you put all those squares together, that makes the picture or the image that you see on the screen. Our eyes just do the opposite. So instead of shooting out light, those little points, they receive light, change it into a signal, and then that signal goes towards the brain. One thing we should note is that the eyes, they have a little bit of overlap in terms of what they see. So a little bit of the right side of your field of vision is captured by your left eye, and a little bit of your left side of your field of vision is captured by your right eye.
Where do signals from the eye go?
Each eye is attached to something called the optic nerve. The optic nerve is like a bundle of wires that transmit signals from the eye to a part of the brain called the occipital lobe. But before the information reaches the brain, the optic nerves have to cross each other. So information from the right eye, or the right side of field of view, is going towards the left side of the brain, and information from the left side of what we can see is going towards the right side of the brain.
What is the occipital lobe?
The occipital lobe is located in the back of the brain, and this is where visual processing begins. Basically, it involves the brain asking questions about the environment around it. What color is that thing over there? Is that thing moving? How fast is it moving? Is it moving towards me? It's important to remember that seeing is about more than just putting a picture together. It's also about putting meaning to the things that we see in our field of vision. Kind of like how when we looked at this image behind me, we saw different things even though we're all looking at the same image.
But that still doesn't answer the question about how people see different things from the same image.
Well, a lot of the images that come to our eye are filtered out. Our attention directs our brain to focus only on certain parts of the image. It's a little bit like someone shining a spotlight onto a stage. Just because the spotlight isn't shining on a part of the stage doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means that that's not the most important part that we need to focus on. If we had to focus on all the images coming to our eyes, we'd have a lot of distractions. The situation also helps to direct our attention and what we see. For example, if you're drawing a picture with lots of detail, you need to focus in on tiny parts of the image and where things are in relation to one another, instead of looking at the whole. But if you're playing a sport, it's not helpful to get distracted by the letters on someone else's jersey. You need to know where your teammates are, where the ball is. There's a lot of moving parts. So if we think back to our spotlight analogy, if our attention is on something it shouldn't be, it's as if the person operating the spotlight is going everywhere around the stage, maybe shining at the audience, everywhere where it shouldn't be. But if maybe our attention is working as it should, but the information from our eyes aren't getting to our brain, it's like the spotlight isn't working.
Why do people focus on different things?
So every person's brain is a little bit different. Just like every other part of our body, we have a face, we have arms, we have legs, but they can all be a little bit different and look a little bit different. And so this depends on the DNA that you get from your parents, but it also depends on how you were brought up and where you grew up and the experiences that you've had in your life. But what you think is important and what you like and are familiar with changes where the spotlight goes and changes what you see.
Here's an experiment you can try at home or in the classroom.
So now that you know that your attention can change what you see, you're going to try an activity called the Stroop test. Don't worry, you're not going to be graded on the test, but it's just an activity to see how well you can keep your attention focused and filter out information that isn't important to you. So your teacher will help you get set up.
Thank you for joining the iSTAND team from UBCO Okanagan for Science Odyssey 2021.